Hi friends, this is Krish and today I want to talk about love and respect in a marriage. There is a feeling, widespread feeling of lack of love and lack of respect being a general kind of a complaint. Lots of people have that. The marriage isn't worthwhile because there is a lack of love, there's a lack of respect. So let us understand what this is all about. And let us see if there is something we can do to improve on that. See guys, what happens is conversations don't happen between married couples. It will sound very immature if a guy who's been married for 10 years, 20 years or even 1 or 2 years goes to his wife and says, hey listen, you don't respect me enough or you don't love me enough. Or usually it's going to be a complaint like that. The man will probably say to his wife, you don't respect me enough. And I'm making a general observation. I think it's the woman who would generally say to her husband, you don't love me enough. There are these complaints, but it sounds very immature and petty, especially if a man goes and says to his wife, you don't respect me enough. And so because he doesn't want to sound petty, and maybe because he can't frame the thoughts in his own head, he doesn't go to his wife and say these things. Nobody says these things. If they do, suppose he says, you don't respect me enough, the chances are that the conversation will not be within control and it will not be a nice conversation unless she's a very, very good listener and, exceptional person, exceptional intelligence, or unless the conditions are exceptional. The conditions of that conversation, the situation is exceptional. It's like, boss, break. I'm going to leave you. I'm going to divorce you. And she asks why. And then he says, you don't respect me enough and I've had enough of this. Then maybe you got a woman's complete attention. She's not going to be arguing. And that's only a maybe. Half the time, more than half the time, they will be just all over the place. And in spite of that, they will make complete disaster happen. Sorry, I may come across as slightly misogynistic. Women can judge me on this. But let me speak my mind. So, generally speaking, a guy does not go to his wife and say, you know what, you don't respect me enough and I'm not enjoying this, I'm not liking this, I do not appreciate this. I feel you could easily make my life a lot better if you did a few very easy things, if you did some things which were very simple. It should be simple. It should not be a tough thing. So since this conversation does not happen between husband and wife in general, anywhere in India as far as I know, I'm going to make your life easy, guys, by proxy having this conversation with between an imaginary husband and a wife. You could maybe present this video to your wife and make her listen to it, and maybe you can have a discussion around it. And I'm only saying maybe because even then things can go very badly wrong. So let me first tell you how things go wrong so that we are kind of braced for the impact. If a guy goes to his wife and says, you know what, you don't respect me enough, the chances are very high that she will come back rather than listening and taking that opportunity to understand that maybe there is a way I can improve my marital relations with my husband and improve things, because if he gets more of what he wants in this relationship, then I can get more of what I want in this relationship. That's a very progressive way of looking at it. But if she doesn't take that progressive view, if she is in battle mode, then she is very likely to say, yeah, but you are also not respecting me at all. You treat me like a servant, you treat me like a slave, you talk to me like this, you talk to me like that. And she might bring up things from a long time ago. Remember that time we went out 3 years ago and you did this and I said this and then you disrespected me in front of all your friends and all of you laughed. And she's going to remember that one thing and your entire conversation goes for a toss. Or remember that time when your mother was scolding me and I wanted you to stand by me and support me and you didn't. And I was crying alone and you just stood there and you didn't support me at all. So I felt very unsupported and I feel wounded. I have been carrying a wound in my heart. Now, if she goes in these directions, your conversation is not going anywhere. In fact, it is going downhill. Your day is fucked. You start that conversation, your day is completely fucked. If you guys were going to have any lovemaking happening that night, it's over. It's not happening. And I'm bringing up the lovemaking thing deliberately. I'm bringing it up very deliberately because from a guy's perspective, when he comes home, when he's done a day's worth of work and has gone out and in his mind he has battled the world for his family. In his mind he does a shitty sales job which he hates, and he puts up with bosses whom he hates, and he puts up with colleagues whom he hates. He puts up with all the shit of this world because it puts bread on the table, and he says, I am doing all this for you, for putting money on the table, for paying the EMIs, it's for you, for paying the school fees of the children. And when I come home, I just want a little nurturing, a little female love. In other words, sex, little bit of lovemaking. Okay, whatever that constitutes, however it is, each couple is different, but whatever it is. And he says, I don't get that. Now, he is very cautious. Guys are generally very cautious about doing anything that is going to fuck up their chances of getting some action at night. I'm going to say this in general. You guys can give me a shout in the comments and tell me whether I'm right or wrong. So, a guy will not want to have a bad conversation with his wife. If he thinks it's going to be a bad conversation, he'll just keep quiet. There may be the most miserable, lackluster, dal roti, khichdi kind of lovemaking. By which I mean a very low standard of anything at all. But he's like, fuck this here, at least itna to ho raha hai. Kuch to ho raha hai. Something is happening. I would rather do this than nothing happening. So guys have a way of just keeping quiet. They don't want to talk about their problems at work. They don't want to talk about anything. And the reason they don't talk about anything is, let's not fuck this up, guys. Let's not fuck this up. Let's not fuck up the one thing that I look forward to. The other thing that a guy looks forward to is, look, let's have some peace and quiet in my house here. Let there not be shouting. Let there not be screaming, my wife shouting at my mother, my wife shouting at me, my wife nagging at me, kid, why didn't you do that? Why didn't you do this? The guy is like, fuck this, I have put up with a day of work. And I come home and there's more of this same shit. What's going on? So it makes people, and I'm speaking from a guy's perspective. I'm sure there's a female perspective in all this. Let's hear it from the females. I don't necessarily have to put out the female perspective. So the guy's perspective is, boss, yaar, zindagi jhand hai वैसे भी यार. I don't want shit to happen at home. So what happens is, guys generally keep quiet. They don't talk about their lives outside. They don't talk about what the shit that happens. They may be having anxiety, they may be having stress, but they'll just keep it quiet. So that conversation about, respect will not happen. So I'm going to make this conversation happen deliberately by talking about respect. So respect. Now, how can a man get respect from his wife? By talking about it. And how can the woman, if she is positive, why should she listen carefully rather than retaliating and just giving it back to him? She can, of course she can. Women are very clever with words. They can twist it around. They can guilt him. They can make him defensive. They can shut him up. Yes, people have all those capabilities. Women are good verbally, especially. So she can go on for, if he talks 100 words, she can talk 1,000 words and she will shut him up. And then he is like, okay, fuck this. Let's forget that I talked about this. But if she wants to be progressive, if she wants tomorrow to be better than it was today, if she wants next week to be better than it was this week, if she wants next month and next year to be better than, or than last year, if she wants 2023 to be good rather than better than it was in 2022, then I think maybe women should listen a bit and not speak defensively, not give knee-jerk reactions. So, respect. So, let's understand, what is this respect thing that guys want, that guys crave for, that guys absolutely need, okay? Let's understand it from an evolutionary and a psychological perspective. Evolutionarily, guys have a need to feel strong, to feel like the man of the house, to feel dominant, to have an upper hand. Now, the feminist view is we are all equal, which is all very fine. But equal does not mean equal if there is a mob standing and banging at your door. If someone comes and there is trouble at the door, if there is a violent mob at the door, I don't think women are going to say, "Main seena faad ke khadi rahungi at the door and let me see how anybody attacks my family." I think the general expectation by everybody, man, woman, children, is the man of the house, he may be 20, 30, 40, 50, 80 even. Man of the house will go out there and fight. Man of the house will go out there and stand and shout and defend his family. That is the expectation. And for the most part, I believe that most men instinctively fulfill this. They instinctively will defend their family in a situation where a threat arises. That being the case, they want to feel like they belong to that category. So, they are in a higher category, they are in a higher risk category, they live their entire life in a higher risk category, in their head at least. It's another story whether they are taking as much risk as the women and so on and so forth. We'll go into that later, physical risks. But men feel that they belong there. So, are you going to respect that or not? This is a very hypothetical scenario. Mob at the door. Very hypothetical scenario. But let us come down to more specific stuff. If a man who goes out there and earns money, whatever he puts on the table, it may be great, it may be enough, it may not be enough, and so on and so forth, is not given the respect, is not given the his due respect by his wife, she undermines him in the eyes of the children. Should there be an authority figure in the house? Most women will say yes. And most women will try to use him as the authority figure. So when the kids go there to school and if they fuck up, she wants him to do the shouting. She will say, "Daddy will be very angry when he comes home." And when he comes home, she's going to call him inside the room and say, "Do you know that the children's marks, this boy's marks are very bad? And will you please say something to him?" So she expects him to use his authority. So she wants him to be an authority. Now if she wants him to be an authority, then she has to build him up as an authority. Then she can't undermine him. If she undermines him, if she says, "You know what, my brother always says you are no good, or my father always or my mother always warned me against marrying you, but I went and married you anyway, blah blah blah." If she pulls him down, basically, "Arey, you don't have any, you don't have any personality. If she pulls him down, then he cannot have authority to exercise on the children or any other member of the family for that matter. Now, the way people work, the way families work, the way women work in families, they want the man to have authority. So if you want your man to have authority, then you got to build him up. You got to build that authority. You got to maintain that authority. You got to retain that authority. You can't knock him down and then expect him to have authority in a moment where you want him to chew out somebody. Maybe you want him to speak to someone else. Maybe, okay, suppose your boss, a woman's boss, is coming on to her, sexual harassment sort of thing. Then maybe she wants her husband to at least phone her boss and say, hey, listen, dude, you have been repeatedly keeping my wife there late at night. And well, I think at the, even if you were to put it in a very soft spoken way, he could be like, boss, I really think you should maybe cut back on that a little bit because this is not okay. Now, even if he has a very gentle word with him, things can have an impact. So for that, he has to have authority. He can prevent sexual harassment. He can just visit the office once and just walk around, and she can introduce him to the husband, to the boss, and maybe the husband can give him a strong male handshake and say, hey man, hi. He may say sir or whatever he wants, but instead of being a wimp, he can be a little bit more of a slightly tough guy. He can project a tough guy vibe. It doesn't matter how much physicality he has, but if he can project a certain tough guy vibe. Now, so having a tough guy vibe, having that authority works for the family, works as protection for her, works as protection for the kids. Someone's picking on the kids. Someone out there, a bully, is let us say making the kid, maybe his daughter's life a little miserable, a road Romeo. Now, if you pull down all the authority of your husband, he doesn't have a feeling of authority at home. He's not feeling like a lion, he's feeling like a dog, he's feeling like a pussycat. Then you don't expect him to turn into a lion and go out there and face the bully. So if you want him to face the bully, then please make him a lion at home, pump him up a little bit. Make him feel like the lion, make him feel like the man of the house. Now, how do you make him feel like the man of the house? What is feel like? Okay, so for one thing, do not pull him down in front of the kids. Now women say, it is reciprocal, he also scolds me in front of the kids. Yeah, so we'll talk about that. But let's start with this. You on your side would benefit from not pulling him down in front of the kids. You on your side would benefit from listening a little bit more than talking, and you on your side might benefit a little bit more if overall in your behavior you had more, shall we say, restraint. The kind of restraint, a working woman understands this very easily. When she is talking to her boss, the boss may be a complete piece of shit. But a woman understands that she has to exercise restraint. So there she exercises restraint. There she says yes sir, no sir. She may come home and really be angry with that guy, but she's not going to show her anger in office. She's not going to bitch about him, at least not openly. Or if she does, she'll do it in a very constrained way. She's careful. Not so at home. Not so at home. She goes and she bitches all over the place and she talks about her husband in a derisive way. And if she does that, she's pulled him down at home. How's it going to work? So basically she destroys her own asset. She's destroying her own asset. His authority is her asset. For him to have authority would be useful to her, would be useful to the children. She's destroying her children's asset. She can overall have a more even relationship, shall we say. Now let's talk about what happens between the two of them, husband and wife. Let's stop talking about what happens vis-a-vis her boss, vis-a-vis the kids, vis-a-vis the bully of the kids, vis-a-vis the teacher of the kids and so on. Let's talk about what happens between husband and wife by themselves. If there is a general smooth transaction of communication, what's a transaction? She says something, he says something. If they both speak, there is no transaction, there is no communication. What she is saying is not being heard, what he is saying is not being heard. If there is good traffic movement of communication, he speaks, she hears. She speaks, he hears. There is good amount of communication. Now, in order for the communication to happen, you have to stop blocking. Now, a woman may say, oh, he blocks. We will get to that. We will talk about that maybe in a separate video. Let's now talk about this angle, because very often it is the woman who wants to solve the problem. She says, my marriage has gone to the dogs. Correct. Okay. It has gone to the dogs. Now what can you do about it? I'm coming from a lot of conversations that I have. What can you do about it? How about you have a protocol where when he speaks, you listen. When you speak, he will feel duty bound or obligated to listen. And if you can manage it with a little bit of respect, like a little bit of sweetness, just a tiny bit of sweetness in that conversation, little bit, maybe he feels okay, he feels generous to give in to a point that you may be making. You're going to make him want to give you something. You can't drag it out of him. So if you say, no, I'm going to win this conversation. Well, it's not a battle, it's a conversation. If you're going to win conversations, yeah, you may win the conversation. But he's going to call you a bitch in his head. And if he's going to call you a bitch in his head, for sure things are going wrong tomorrow. When the time comes, he will let you down. If he has to treat you like a queen, he won't. He will treat you like, you're just another person in my life and you're not a very nice person. So why should I treat you like a queen? So put yourself into a position where you are building him up and he is building you up. Where he is treating you like a queen, but you gotta treat him like a king, right? You can't say, I'm going to treat you like a dog, but you treat me like a queen. Doesn't work. Treat him like a king. Talk to him like a king. Make him feel like a king. Magnanimous. And when in bed, let's be very clear on this. Treat him like your king, like your special man. Is that too much to ask? Does he have to beg? Is that what you're going to do? Is that what your whole deal on feminism and freedom is? Please don't do that. Treat him like a king, he will treat you like a queen. That's the way it should work. I'm Krish, the Urban Naxal. Jai Maharashtra, Jai Hind, Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan.